If I could live the life of any famous person, it would be Taika Waititi. It used to be Edgar Wright when he was churning out classic movies, but he's only made 2 movies in the last 10 years and they weren't that great, so Taika it is. Not only does he get to make his own hit movies and TV shows, he gets to play in the Star Wars universe, and he's made 2 Marvel movies, the latest of which has just come out. And as for his private life, well, let's not get into that, but guy's living the dream. Which brings me to his latest movie, Thor: Love and Thunder. I was very much looking forward to this, as Thor Ragnarok was one of my favourite Marvel movies, with great visuals and a hilarious script. If you want the short review, this was almost as good, but not quite. The first half hour in particular feels a bit rushed, like it may have been cut down in post-production. There's lots of narration and montages to hurry the story along, which makes it feel a bit rushed. If you remember the end of Avengers Endgame, Thor left with the Guardians of the Galaxy, and here we get to see the highlights of their time together. But you're left with a nagging feeling that they may have filmed a lot more and just cut it down to the bare minimum. There's not much more than there was in the trailers, really. After that, we get Natalie Portman back as Jane Foster. She left the franchise after Thor: The Dark World, and who can blame her? But since then, the comics have turned her character into the mighty Thor, with a big juicy storyline for her, so you can see why she came back. Frankly, the whole cancer storyline feels a bit underwhelming. It may have worked in a comic where she's a central character, but here she's very much secondary to the original Thor, and we only get a bare minimum of scenes needed to tell her story. But for most of the time, it's just shunted to the side. So we're left with this movie that's this big bad cosmic romp in which one of the characters is dying of cancer. And they never really managed to balance those two story aspects out, and I'm not sure anyone could have. Chris Hemsworth has been playing Thor for more than 10 years now, and he's still very entertaining in the role. His character arc seems a little familiar now. He starts the movie being really arrogant and self-obsessed and has to learn a sense of responsibility. We've seen him go through that before once or twice. But his relationship with Jane Foster does take him to some new places. Hemsworth and Portman seem to have much more chemistry here than they did 10 years ago. Their relationship always seemed a bit forced back then, but here they're much more on the same level, partly because she has Thor powers now. And it feels a much more mature pairing this time. Christian Bale is the villain, playing Gore the God Butcher, looking at Richard O'Brien after a house fire. And he's as good as you would expect. He's a fine actor, and his character manages to be very sympathetic, despite of all the killing he does. But to be honest, given the number of gods in the movie, he could probably have got away with killing a few more. Russell Crowe's Zeus has much the same role as Jeff Goldblum did in Ragnarok, basically taking a cameo role and stealing the entire movie. He's great fun to watch, hamming it up with an over-the-top Greek accent. It's a shame we don't get to see more of Hercules, who was a great character in the comics, but Zeus does make up for it. Tessa Thompson is back as Valkyrie, and she does get more to do than in Ragnarok, but she still somehow feels a bit underused. Even though her character is ruler of Asgard, she quickly goes back to just being Thor's sidekick. Maybe she needs her own spin-off movie for the character to really develop. And also back is Korg, who gets all the best lines again, probably because he's played by Taika Waititi. And Kat Dennings is back as Darcy, but only for one scene, which is a shame. She's one of the better comedic performers in the MCU, so it would have been good to see her do more. I've maybe been a bit negative so far, but I did enjoy the movie. I just feel an extra half hour would have made it so much better. The soundtrack is great, lots of fantastic 80s rock songs. There's some wonderful action sequences, excellent visuals, and plenty of great comedy scenes. I particularly enjoyed the goats screeched at top volume every time they came on. And the rivalry between Thor's old and new weapons is a lot of fun to watch. The ending is not something I was expecting, and I'm not going to spoil it for anyone, but it does open up new possibilities for the future. Like all the movies since Endgame, it's not really about advancing the overall plot of the universe, it's just about moving the characters on to the next stage of their lives. But it does shake up the status quo enough that another Thor movie wouldn't be the worst thing in the world. Maybe not in the near future, but in another 5-10 years, it could be interesting. That's all for now. Next time I'll be sticking with Marvel and doing an overview of Season 1 of Ms. Marvel. Until then, please press the like button if you enjoyed the video, and subscribe if you want to see more from me. Goodbye.